got the image. You should be able to see the image. You got the image. Okay, this one's fine. Okay. I'm not gonna... Everyone on the disc knows the legend of Eleanor of Sort. Or at least everyone knows a legend of Eleanor of Sort, or Crinix, or El Arip. Ask white people and they'll tell you that she was the cause of the Sortian Wars. Of course, ask most people, they'll tell you the patrician's kind, a benevolent man. Never trust what most people tell you. The real cause of Sortian Wars was a little known goddess named Errata. It was at the wedding of... I'm not gonna read all this. It's too fast. It goes... Langu kulai leidian non accidentu. Battery is not included. Vata, Patina, goddess of wisdom. Sefud, god of tucklery, which can be with a big knife. Ah, yeah. The Sortizi Falchion. Yeah, it's a pun on the Maltese Falcon. Yeah, it's a pun. Yeah, the colors are kind of weird because they have to put 16-bit colors. That's a Falcon. It's almost like a cutlass, but straight.
I've had some bad days since I started work as a private investigator, but I've never woken up dead before. It all started the week before, on a cold and wet Sectober day in Ankh-Morpork, the oldest and most depraved of all the cities on the Discworld. But hey, you've got to love it.
But is Ant's gonna rip out? Oh no, flashback.
I'd been working as a PI for a little over a month, and business was slow.
No, nothing.
Hiring an investigator to look into your business requires trust, and the amount of trust in Ankh-Morpork wouldn't fill a cup.
It's the same company that made the previous game, the Discworld 2. That much I know.
And it's a small cup I'm talking about. Sure, people trust that you don't get on the wrong side of the patrician. People trust that you don't walk into the shades alone.
It's the intro. I only saw the intro, and the intro is very witty.
People trust that the Assassin's Guild will fulfill their contracts or double your money back. Yeah, people even trust
My
death.
problem with the second game is that the humor is not typical Terry Pratchett humor. And this one has a bit of that humor.
Just don't ask them to trust their mothers.
At least the intro is. But I mean, it has a lot of wittiness. I mean, his lines is sharp.
Mr. Luton?
If I'm not, I should fire the guy who painted the door.
So this is what a private investigator looks like.
I mean, it's
I
not
expected someone more heroic.
it's not a comedy. Man, he plays the tropes. He subverts the tropes because, well, sort of.
Heroism costs extra. What can I do for you, Miss...
Mrs., actually. And the name is Carlotta.
Being hired by a femme fatale, as you have already have a noir trope right here.
Okay, Mrs. Actually. Carlotta it is.
Mrs. Actually, Carlotta. Yeah, that's a joke. There's a joke in there.
What's a girl like you doing out in a night
Oh,
like
come on.
this?
Discworld 2 doesn't have any Pratchett whatsoever.
I want to hire you, Mr. Luton.
It's like a Monty Python. No, it's a parody of Monty Python featuring Discworld characters.
Please call me Luton. Mister sounds so formal.
How much do you charge for a simple investigation?
I don't know. I've never had a simple investigation. A tricky one is 20 a day.
I'll give you 200 in advance, plus expenses.
For 200, I guess I should treat you with some respect.
Oh, I wouldn't ask a guy like you to attempt the impossible.
What's the case?
I want you to find a man named Mundy.
Why do you want to find Mundy?
Do you know him?
No. And this case will go a lot faster if you let me ask the questions.
You like to be in control, don't you, Luton?
If you don't pull the strings, then you're the puppet. Tell me about you and Mundy.
I've been a lonely woman, Luton.
You amaze me.
You'd be surprised.
Shocked, maybe, but not surprised.
Mundy is my lover, Luton. Or used to be. He's been away for a while, over in Sort. He came back to Ankh-Morpork a couple of days ago on the Milka, but he didn't come to see me. I think he may be having an affair. You're wondering whether my husband knows about it.
Actually, I was wondering when you were going to give me the money.
My husband passed away several years ago.
I hope the poor guy was smiling at the time. Is there anything you can tell me about Mundy that might help me find him?
He's got blue eyes, brown hair, and a black heart. You'd like him.
Has he got any friends in Ankh-Morpork?
Does anyone?
How tall is he?
I don't know. I don't picture him standing up.
What was Mundy's business in Sort?
I don't know. I never asked about his work, and he never told me.
Must be a very straightforward relationship.
As simple as they come.
Where can I find the ship he came in on?
Down at the wharf.
Have you been there yourself?
I avoid places like that. Women and seamen.
Forget I asked. This is a bad neighborhood for you to come into alone, Carlotta.
I can take care of myself.
I believe you.
Good. Trust is important.
I said I believed you. I never said I trusted you.
Don't you like me, Luton?
I like a lot of things. I like dogs, but I wouldn't trust one not to bite me.
I won't bite.
Shame. I haven't been bitten in a long while. I'd better get started on your case. Where can I contact you?
I'll be in touch. Be seeing you, Luton.
I hoped I would see her again, because she still hadn't paid me. Still, it wasn't every day that a beautiful woman offered me a case. Frankly, it wasn't often that anybody offered me a case. And 200 would certainly help pay the rent, if I had anything left over from my bar bill. I had purchased a large indexed scroll rack to keep track of all the cases I was going to handle. The Mundy case made it 2. Sapient pearwood comes from a plant so magical that it is totally impervious to all forms of magic, and so valuable that thieves have cut each other's throats to own it. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford a desk made out of it, so I made do with pine. It's a nice desk, though. A lot of strange things had happened to me since becoming a private investigator. But the weirdest was the irrepressible sensation that the most important thing for me to own as a PI was a door with my name painted on the glass. Some mysteries are best left unsolved, I guess. I'd purchased the imp-powered coffee bean machine from Cut-Me-Own-Throat Dibbler,
Dibbler.
the man whose name was the byword for quality. With CMOT Dibbler, you could say bye to quality. I'll say this for the ICBM. It made coffee strong enough to blow your head off. On the downside, the imp tended to use most of the beans to fuel its own addiction. Some days the poor thing was so jittery the coffee machine would vibrate off the shelf. Nothing like a cup of imp-made coffee to make me jittery and paranoid.
Okay. Ethan's office. Okay, where can we go? The wharf.
The wharf was on the upmarket side of the river, in the city of Ankh. The Moorpork docks on the other side of the river were not a place wise travelers disembarked at. But then again, wise travelers tried to avoid Ankh-Morpork altogether. But if you traveled a lot, it was hard to miss, like malaria.
Okay, let me... Wharf. Your game has been saved. Can I talk to this guy?
The Milka was a tramp schooner, one of the many ramshackle ships that plied their trade around the Circle Sea. From the looks of it, it should have sunk years ago. Even the rats thought twice before boarding it. The first mate wasn't as hostile as I might have expected, but he wasn't particularly helpful either. Are you the first mate?
Arr!
Yes or no?
Shiver me timbers! Hoist the main brace!
Is that the guy from the previous game? The captain?
Let's start again. Are you the first mate?
Aye! That I be!
You're not going to get any money off me, so you can drop the fake accent.
Sorry. You know how it is. Some people are stupid enough to fall for that sort of thing. What can I do for you?
Interesting.
When do you sail?
As soon as we've got her loaded.
How much is passage?
Where are you looking to go?
I don't know. Sort, perhaps.
We've just come from there. It'll be a long time before we get back there again.
Did you bring any passengers?
Sure. We always try to take a couple of passengers. They pay their way, and if there's a big storm, they are very useful as to sacrifice to the angry sea gods. Of course, we tell people they were washed over the side.
I can put images here in the chat.
What were the passengers on the last voyage like?
There were 3 of them. One of them seemed all right, but the other 2, I don't know about them. There was something strange about them.
Do you sacrifice passengers often?
No. The captain doesn't like it. He says it's bad for business. I said that we were advertising ourselves as offering an exciting tour of the Circle Sea, but he pointed out that most people would expect the tour to be above the water. If I'd had my way, we'd have thrown some people off the last voyage.
Bad omens?
The whole crew had a bad feeling of dread from the moment we set off.
Looking at the state of the ship, that doesn't come as a surprise. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Doesn't ring any bells, I'm afraid.
What was strange about these passengers?
I don't know. One of them seemed kind of foreign. I mean, more foreign than most.
Was there a man named Mundy on the last voyage?
It's funny you should ask that. You're the second person today to have an interest in Mundy.
Who was the first?
A dwarf. He didn't give his name. I don't think he was from round here, though.
What about Mundy? What was he like?
I don't pry into the passenger's business. But for a man who came on board pretty happy, he seemed pretty unsettled when he left. Not that I blame him. Something was definitely amiss on this last voyage.
Do you know where he is now?
Mundy? No. Like I said, I don't pry into passengers' business.
Unless you actually look through their luggage after they've been washed over the side.
Hey, what are you inferring?
I'm not inferring anything. I'm implying that you might have had a look at their luggage at one point.
If I had, I certainly wouldn't admit it to you.
Which either means you didn't look, or you didn't find anything of interest.
You better watch your steps, son. It's not good to make accusations like that.
Don't worry. Anything we discuss is strictly between you, me, and anyone else I tell. Since that was who I'd learnt about that from in the first place, I didn't feel I had much to gain by going over old ground. This is the Milka, isn't it?
That's what it says on the prow.
It's impossible to read anything written on that hull.
Just because you can't read it doesn't mean it isn't there. Reality is subjective, after all.
Don't get all existential with me.
It was more ontological than existential.
That's a really bad habit you've got there.
What? Oh, sorry. I picked up a bad case of philosophy in Ephoebe a couple of years ago, and I haven't been able to get rid of it since. Just can't seem to shake it off. Normal
Bad
as
case
anything
of
one minute.
philosophy.
Next moment, I'm wondering if anything can truly be said to exist. A bit of a drawback when you're supposed to be navigating.
Okay, assuming the existence of an objective shared universe, is this the Milka?
Yes.
Can I have a look on board?
No.
That better not be some kind of philosophical objection.
No one gets on board without Captain Jenkins' permission.
Where is the captain?
I don't know. But you could try the Cafe Ankh. He usually goes there when he's in Ankh-Morpork. If it exists, of course.
Interesting.
Well, safe voyage, if that's possible.
Okay, I'm going to save, and I'm going to... Okay.
I couldn't tell what the crates contained, and frankly, I didn't much care. Outgoing cargo wasn't going to tell me much. I needed to know whether Mundy had brought something with him. The sailor was busy loading the ship, and I decided not to disturb him. Something told me I wasn't going to learn anything useful from the sailor.
Well, in terms of noir atmosphere, It sure has it. Not gonna lie. Interesting. Cafe. Your game has been saved. Okay. Ah, the vampire.
You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if everything was a blur when you met her. All that you remember are the tunes of a vampire, a melancholy tune about impending doom.
Wow.
I'll fetch your tankard, fill it to the brim. A cask of stale, broken drum ale. Wondering how long till you meet again on the bank of the Ang. Too much to drink, you could barely even think. Too much bare heart. I thought I told you never to play that song again. Oh, sorry, Mr. Luton. It's just I wasn't expecting you to call by tonight, and you weren't expecting me? It's only been 8 years, Samael.
Don't play it again, Sam.
I guess my memory ain't what it used to be.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just setting a joke to Lucho.
I don't know why Samael put up with my temper. He could have broken every bone in my body if he'd wanted to.
Let me see if I still have that.
But that's what made him special, I guess. That he'd take almost any kind of abuse from the clientele, and he'd still be there at the piano, playing better than anyone else in Ankh-Morpork.
I was going to send a joke, but I don't have it on my phone anymore. Sorry.
The pianist, Samael, was one of Cafe Ankh's greatest assets. Not only was he a first-rate musician, but there was something about him that made you think it'd be a bad idea to start any trouble. I decided not to disturb Samael while he was working.
Nobby. I don't remember Nobby.
My old friend Nobby from the Watch.
Oh yeah, it was one of the guards.
I hadn't spoken to him in ages. Hello, Nobby.
One of the gate guards.
Hello, Luton. How you been keeping? I've been worse. Of course, I've been better, too. And I've been a hell of a lot better and not much worse. That's good, isn't it? Don't worry. If Commander Vimes sees us together, I'll tell him I made you talk to me. It's not that I don't like you, Luton. I mean, we was friends and all. But it's just... well... it's just he'd bite your head off if he saw you talking to me. He'd go spare. How you been keeping, Nobby? How's the rest of the watch? Not so bad, Luton. Been keeping myself busy. Been working with Sergeant Colon. How is old Fatty Colon? Still fat? I'll tell him I saw you. No, you won't. Okay, so maybe I won't. I was just being trite. Polite. Yeah, that's the one. I guess I never really understood why it was that you didn't get kicked out as well, Nobby. Me? I ain't never done nothing wrong. Don't give me that, Nobby. When you were serving as quartermaster under the Duke of Pseudopolis, it was widely known that several items from the stores were found in your kit. That was all above board. I had all the paperwork for him. Your kit at the time consisted of 2 warehouses. I just think Vimes had a grudge against me. Luton, I know you're my friend and all, but you took a bribe. Are you trying to tell me you never took a bribe? Never. The ham from Harga's House of Ribs? Evidence. The pocket clock from the suicide in the shades? I wanted something to remember him by. The money in the petty cash box? Mislaid by someone. Misappropriated by you. I never misanthropated anything. I just want to understand why it was that you could get away with all your petty theft, and I couldn't get away with one act of weakness. Well, you see, just say it, Nobby. I'm not gonna hold it against you. Well, I reckon Mr. Vimes thinks that a bit of petty theft ain't something to get excited about. I ain't admitting anything, mark you. Nothing's ever been proved. Compared to some of the stuff that goes on in this city. But someone who's taken a bribe, well, that's like allowing the rich to avoid justice. That wasn't why I did it. I know. But you know Vimes. Yeah, I know Vimes all right. What's Vimes up to these days? He got married. Married? He was only ever married to his job. Nah, straight up. He married into nobility. Old Stoneface in the nobility. That'd drive him crazy. Well, he's sort of nobility himself now. What? They made him commander of the watch. And we got a great new premises down on Pseudopolis Yard. They're full of paintings and vases and all sorts. Full? Well, maybe not as full as when we moved in, but pretty full. I'll have to call round sometime. Yeah, that'd be good. We got a lot more members in the watch these days. And we got a new dartboard. Life in the fast lane, huh? Do you seriously think it's a good idea for me to call around? I mean, Vimes isn't gonna like it. Whatever you may think about him, he's loyal to his job. I can't say he'll welcome you with open arms, but he won't stop you. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta? I'm not getting drawn into anything while I'm off duty. Wait till I'm back at the yard. Have you heard of the Milka? It arrived in town a short time ago. How long ago? 3 days. That's strange. Why? Well, there's been a string of odd murders in the last 3 days. What do you mean, odd? I mean, this is Ankh-Morpork we're talking about. I'm not sure I should discuss the details with a pavilion.
Civilian.
A civilian, Nobby. How much have you had to drink? I'm as sober as the day I was born. That's a frightening thought. Since that was who I'd learnt about that from in the first place, I didn't feel I had much to gain by going over old ground. Do you know anything about a man named Mundy? I'm not getting drawn into anything. Wait till I'm back at the yard. I'll catch you later, Nobby. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, don't get caught doing anything I wouldn't do.
Interesting.
The captain of the Milka, Captain Jenkins, didn't seem to be a very happy man. Are you Captain Jenkins?
That depends on who's asking.
Don't play games. I'm just after a few answers.
That song really put you in a bad mood, didn't it?
If you're trying to get me angry, it's working.
No need to get upset. You need to drink more and think less.
If I drank any more than I do now, I'd never think again.
That's the ticket.
So, you're the captain of the Milka.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately?
Ordinarily, I'd be happy being a captain of a fine ship like the Milka, but after this last voyage, I'm thinking of taking up farming.
Tough journey?
I don't want to talk about it.
What was so bad about the last voyage?
I told you I don't want to talk about it.
Sometimes it helps to talk about these things.
Why would I want to talk about it?
All right, let's put that another way. I want to talk about it, and the sooner I finish talking to you, the sooner you can get back to drinking.
By that logic, my best bet would be to just ignore you and carry on drinking.
I was never much good at logic. I did home economics at school. I was hoping you'd let me have a look around on the Milka.
I was hoping that I was going to make enough money to be able to buy myself a harem of exotic dancers called Chantel. But it looks like we're both going to be disappointed.
I understand you were carrying a man named Mundy on your ship.
What's it to you?
I was hoping to find him.
Owes you money, does he?
No, he's an old friend.
Him? You must think I'm as drunk as I look.
Aren't you?
Well, okay, so maybe I am. What did you want to know?
Where is he now?
I've no idea. We picked him up in Sort a couple of weeks ago and we brought him here. That's about all I want to know about him.
Did he say what he was coming to Ankh-Morpork for?
I think he said he was meeting someone.
Who?
Now, I can barely remember my own name, let alone something I overheard through a doorway last week.
The Milka looks like a good ship.
You know nothing about ships, do you? She looks like exactly what she is. A run-down tramp schooner with no future.
Any chance I could look around her anyway?
All I want to do is get the cargo loaded and get out of this god's-forsaken city. I don't need people snooping around on board.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
There's no one I know.
On your last voyage, there were 3 passengers, right? Mundy and 2 others.
You tell me. You seem to know more about my ship than I do.
I just want to know what you can remember about them.
I remember that we picked them up in Ecclepon, and I know they had a lot of cargo. Oh, and one was a woman, and one was a man. I think.
You think he was a man?
There was something particularly foreign about him. I'm not sure what,
Where's Ecclepon?
Up near the hub. God's forsaken place. All there is to do there is drink and eat fish sandwiches with no tops on.
Sounds like a long way from the Circle C.
We got lost, all right. It's easy to mix up port and starboard when you've drunk too much port.
Good joke.
Are they still on board?
Nope. We dropped them in Ankh-Morpork. And before you ask, I have no idea what they were doing here. That's not my business.
I was beginning to realize that Captain Jenkins only had 2 questions to ask his passengers. Where are you going? And how much money have you got? Has there been a dwarf around asking questions?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
No, just a purse.
I'll see you around, Captain. My old friend, the bar. I was tempted to order a drink, but I was working.
Nope.
The golem was loading wine barrels onto the cart, calmly and diligently. I would have pitied it, but there didn't seem much point. It was just magically animated clay. A good-looking crowbar. It looked like it had a good heft, too. I figured the golem wouldn't notice that the crowbar had gone missing. Not that I'm saying it didn't need it, just that I'd figured I'd get away with stealing it. The cart was being loaded with barrels of wine. Apart from the wine, I can't say I was interested. I guess I never really noticed that the Café Ankh had a wine cellar before. Perhaps if they'd run out of drinks at the bar, I'd have been more inclined to investigate. I knew full well that I wouldn't be able to get down there without permission and the right key.
How do I get the inventory?
The golem was low. The main doors to the Café Ankh were one of its most useful. Without it, no one. It was just...
Hey, Lucio, do you know how to get the inventory? Or... Nope, it's okay. Oh, F2, okay.
You can't go around jimmying every door open just because you can. Besides, I liked Samael, and I drew the line at breaking into the cafe's wine cellar without his permission.
Okay. Yeah, that's a constant, yes. Yard.
I headed over to Pseudopolis Yard, but Nobby wasn't there yet. I decided to come back later.
Oh. Sailor isn't here. So.
Perhaps the single crate would be a better choice. A crate. What more could I say? I didn't much like being jammed into a crate and loaded onto the ship, but I could think of worse fates. Like being jammed into a crate full of rats and loaded onto the ship. What's your name then, little fellow? The hold was dark and dank, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The hold was full of crates for the outgoing voyage. They were of little interest to me. The bilge water was littered with flotsam that looked like the remains of a smashed crate. I thought I could see a label amongst the wreckage. I pulled the label out of the wreckage. It had writing on it that I couldn't understand. I'd pulled the label out of... It looked lived in. The question was, by what? There was nothing of value in the debris. I didn't think there was much I could do with the debris.
Okay.
I didn't think there was much I could do with the debris. There was nothing of value in the debris.
Let me save. Ship.
A bunk bed like any other. A perfectly ordinary bunk bed. There were some strange scratches on the bedpost, which looked as if they'd been caused by either a wild animal or a man with very bad dental hygiene. What they meant was anyone's guess. I wasn't about to tear the bedpost off the bed. I searched a bunk and found a small scrap of cardboard. It could have been anything. There was a number on the back. Either a 6 or a 9. It was hard to say. I needed someone who could read the label. I searched one of the bunks, but found nothing useful, and nothing I wanted to think too closely about. I'd managed to remain hidden on the ship, but I knew my luck couldn't last forever, because I'd stopped being lucky around age 12. The first mate looked less than happy, but I don't think he saw who I was as I dived in elegantly on my Ankh. Fortunately, the crust of the Ankh was soft that night, and I escaped both injury and discovery, although I needed 2 baths just to feel dirty. Sapient pearwood. Unfortunate. It's a nice... All I had to do was track down...
Zero policy art.
You could say this about Nabi. Deep down, he was a good man. Well, deep down, he was probably a man. Good might be stretching it a bit. Hello again, Nabi. Hello, Luton. Did I disturb you? No. What made you think that? Well, there appears to be smoke coming from your ear. Oh, that, Well, I've been working hard, you see. Working so hard that your ears have caught fire. Don't worry about it, Nabi. It's not like I'm going to report you. I have been working, see? Oh, sure. I never doubted it for a second. How's work treating you then? Not so bad, Luton. I've been busy, though. Rushed off my feet. Yeah, I can tell. Do you know anything about a man named Mundy? Never heard of him. Have you learned anything about the Milka? Yeah, not as such, no. You go to great lengths to conceal how little work you do, don't you? Hey. What do you know about a woman named Carlotta? Never heard of him. Do you know anything about some passengers that came into town by ship a few days ago? That's not much to go on. You're a corporal in the watch. You're supposed to have a keen, insightful mind. They brought that regulation in after I joined. Has there been a dwarf around asking questions? I don't know. Any word on these murders? Nothing yet. But our top investigators are working on the case 24 hours a day. Nobby? Yeah? Are you one of those crack investigators? Yeah? Why? Never mind. Just a thought. Can you read this?
Give me a break, Luton. I don't know everything.
Does this mean anything to you?
No.
Wow.
Catch you later, Nobby. The troll stepped out of the shadows like light was too intimidated to illuminate him. He seemed like the quiet sort, but you got the feeling that if you stepped out of line, you'd get your teeth kicked down your throat. For that matter, he could kick your throat down your chest and your chest through your legs. But I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, because none of my clothes would fit.
Find them.
Sorry, friend, I don't understand.
Find them.
You want me to find Therma? Is that it? Well, what is it? A person? A thing? Look, if we're going to carry out a conversation, it'd help for you to talk.
Find them.
Okay, find Therma. What's your name, friend? There was something about a troll that big that made you want to call him friend.
Malachite. Find them. You've got to find her.
I wasn't about to argue with a troll that could twist my head off and use it as a cocktail onion. Okay, friend. What can you tell me about her? Any suggestions of where I should start looking?
Used to sing at the Octarine Parrot. Find them. Got to find them.
How can I contact you?
Find them.
That was all he said. I guess he wasn't very bright. But then there's things under damp logs that are brighter than most trolls.
Hey, it's a clue. So far it's been somewhat linear. Not bad, but linear. Octarine Parrot.
I'd heard of the Octarine Parrot. It made other dives sound appealing. What a place. I could feel the rats in the walls. Hell, I could see the rats in the walls. In fact, some of them had come out of the walls and were sitting at the tables. I couldn't imagine who would pay attention to the notices in a seedy dive like the Parrot, but I guess they were of interest to someone. Come and see the greatest historical tragedy ever told, Antilogy and Clephatara, Whell's masterpiece as 'twas meant to be performed by actors. Eat at Harga's House of Ribs. All you can gobble for $1, menu available. Famous wherever huge appetites gather and mountainous stomachs rumble. The amazing panacea that cures all known ills. Cut me own throat dibblers, genuine authentic soggy Mountain Dew. Guaranteed to cure all problems or your money back.
I'm cutting my own throat.
Ah, there's some small print. Guarantee will not be honored. Come and see the greatest... The bar looked almost as appealing as every other bar in town to me. But the drinks didn't exactly fill you with confidence. The bartender was a half-elf called Mankin, and I knew he wouldn't appreciate someone coming into his place and asking questions. Fortunately, I didn't care what he appreciated. Can I help you? You could sell me a drink.
What's your poison?
I'd prefer whiskey straight with a whiskey chaser.
You didn't come here to drink, did you?
Well, I didn't come here for the sparkling conversation. Most of the customers go squeak, squeak. This seems like a nice place.
No, it doesn't. It seems like what it is. A wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's tough to get to the top in that field. You could have that on a sign outside. Come to the Octarine Parrot, the most wretched hive of scum and villainy this side of the Ankh.
Are you being funny?
Apparently not.
You look a little nervous.
I can't shake the feeling that sooner or later someone is going to get their arm cut off.
A hive of villainy scum, arm cut off. Yeah. Star Wars reference, I know.
Have you always owned the parrot?
No. It used to be a troll bar. I took over the place after the riots.
Did you keep any of the staff?
Sure, I kept anyone who wanted to stay and wasn't too badly injured by the riots. But there's something about a group of rioting trolls that makes people reluctant to walk back into a place.
Or indeed unable. Did you keep any singers on the staff?
Only Sapphire.
It's not often I see a half-elf bartender.
Be honest. It's not often you see a half-elf.
Okay, you got me. What's the deal?
I don't like to talk about it.
I thought elves were supposed to be irrepressibly likable, so that they can get away with whatever acts of cruelty they want. Like cats.
Well, I'm not an elf, all right?
That's the problem, isn't it? Everyone can see that you've got elf blood in you, but you've got none of the advantages. All you get is people's prejudice.
I don't like your manner.
I'm not selling it.
I'm not selling it. Damn, that. Whew. That wheat.
Tell me about
Where's
Sapphire.
it sharp?
Why don't you just talk to her yourself? Just don't bother her while she's working, all right?
Do you know someone named Therma? She used to sing here.
That'd be before my time. Sapphire might know. She knew all the troll singers from back before I took over the parrot.
Do you know of a troll who goes by the name of Malachite? Tall, terse, and dense, in both senses of the word.
Might have been one of the customers from when this used to be a troll bar. But I wouldn't know him if he was.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
I know a lot of people. That doesn't mean I want to talk about them with you.
I gave Mencken Mundy's description and asked if he'd seen him. He told me that he hadn't. Maybe I could trust him. A half-elf doesn't need to make any more enemies. Can you read this?
Nope.
Well,
Until later, Mencken. The stage, where performers go up in front of a drunken crowd and sell their dignity to earn enough money to barely live on. It made me think that all the discs a stage and all the people players. Unfortunately, I felt like I'd been cast as an extra in my own life story. The troll singer was something else. I didn't know what, but she was something. Can we talk?
Certainly look that way. Move mouth, waggle tongue. Yeah, it all working.
My name's Luton.
Sapphire.
I could already tell that Sapphire was a troll who could look after herself. I knew I'd have to watch my step around her. It was quite a long way round her, too, and not the pretty way. You been a singer here long?
Long enough.
Long enough for what?
Long enough to want to be singing somewhere else.
Tell me about yourself.
I'd tell you about myself in 4 words. Big ideas, Small results.
That voice sounds familiar.
Why did you become a singer?
Aren't many jobs for a troll like me. And at least this one honest.
Is honesty important to you?
As much as anything else.
I'm guessing nothing much matters to you right now, Sapphire.
You catch on quick, Luton.
What do you know about the barman?
Mankin? Not much. Know that him a bigger loser than me.
How come?
He owns this place. At least Sapphire leave if Sapphire wants to.
Why don't you leave?
Where would I go? No place on disc for a troll like me. Spend our whole lives waiting for break. Just one chance to come our way that can seize in both hands tightly. But it never come. Or if it do, we don't recognize it. So we go back to grind of job we hate. And just keep on ticking each day, one step closer to end.
Do you do children's parties? Have you heard of a troll singer named Therma? She used to work here.
Huh! A troll singer named Therma.
What's so funny?
Nothing. Sure, Sapphire know her.
Know where I could find her?
Try morgue. She dead. Her house on Tallow Street collapsed while back now. We trolls may be tough, but we're not indestructible. Rumors say she was practicing her moves and knocked out load-bearing beam. Brought whole place down on top of her. That's why Sapphire never practiced.
That's the only reason.
That, and I don't wanna.
Know where she's buried?
Sapphire don't know, but think they buried her under stage name Madame Lodestone.
Madame Lodestone?
Sure, on account of how attractive she was.
So Therma performed here under the name Madame Lodestone.
Who are you? The narrator? I told you that already.
I don't suppose you'd know a big troll called Malachite.
Sure, he troll a few words, 'cause he don't know that many.
Do you know where I could find him?
Sapphire not seen him in years, but you try Rodin's workshop. He used to hang out there.
Word is there's been a lot of strange murders recently.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Why not?
There are a lot of strange people in this city.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Sapphire know a lot of people, but don't know everyone, mister.
I gave Sapphire Mundy's description in the hope that she'd seen him around.
Don't ring no bells, honey, but that don't mean much. We get lots of humans through here, and they all look the same to me.
Can you read this?
Ask too many questions and a girl loses interest.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll be back.
It's not so bad. Game isn't so bad.
At first glance, Rodin looked like a typical sculptor. On closer examination, I decided he was much less. All I knew about the statue was that it was a work in progress. You wouldn't happen to be Rodin, would you?
Ah, I know that one. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Take your time.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think I am Rodin. How can I be sure?
Beats me. I had a note from my mother the day they did philosophy at school.
You must conceive form in depth.
Yeah.
Why?
Do you know, I don't remember.
It figures.
What do you make of this?
I stared at the statue he was working on. Face to face with art, we shuffle our feet and apologize. We say, I don't know much about art, but I know what I like. Well, most people do. I can't even say I know what I like. But that's not the point. The point is that if knowing what you like is good enough for shoes and drinks and women, what's wrong with applying the same rule to art?
Deep. Okay, that's deep. This is just meaningless dialogue, but it's quite deep.
I guess people don't like to look stupid. Personally, I think art's for guys who couldn't do basic maths.
Do you like it?
Well, I don't know much about art. Sometimes I could be such a coward. So you're a sculptor then?
Yes. Yes. I'm reasonably sure I am. Something like that, anyway.
Why do I get the feeling that you aren't going to be much good at small talk? Do you know a troll named Malachite?
Malachite. Malachite. It sounds familiar.
In your own time?
I think he works for me. Or he did work for me. No, I think he must still work for me. Look, there he is over there.
Do you know anyone named Therma?
Where do I know that name from?
It wasn't hard to lose patience with Rodin. Every day probably took him by complete surprise. Have you heard of a troll named Madame Lodestone?
Madame Lodestone, the fount of all relief. Relief, relief to be observed and not outlined. Relief tours determination. That's the main thing. To hope, tremble, to be drunk. It's a man's life in the imperial artists.
You're not making any sense.
Sorry.
What do you know about a woman named Carlotta?
Where do I know that name from?
It wasn't hard to lose patience with Rodan. Every day. Do you know anything about a man named Mundy?
Where do I know that name from?
It wasn't hard to lose patience with Rodan. Every day probably took him by complete surprise. I guess you'd better get back to your work. Malachite was the biggest troll I'd ever seen. Actually, Malachite was the biggest living thing I'd ever seen, and possibly the dumbest, too. You're a tough troll to find, Malachite. You could say something. Okay, so I'll do the talking. So how you been keeping, Malachite? Okay, I guess you don't want to talk about that. This where you're staying at the moment? I guess you're not going to talk about that either. Heard any good jokes recently? How many trolls does it take to change a lamp wick? Want me to give you a clue?
Aye.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think Therma might be dead. Her house collapsed. She's been gone a while. Are you going to say something?
Need to see the body.
The body?
Find Therma. Need to see body.
Okay, the body. No, sheesh. It'd be really useful if you could tell me something about Therma that I could use to find her.
Therma. Find Therma.
Yes, I know that part, but I need some leads if I'm going to find her.
Find Therma.
Malachite wasn't being very helpful. But he was tall and threatening, so I guess everyone has something going for them. Always a pleasure talking at you, Malachite.
Okay.
On an ordinary night, I'd sit around waiting for business. But this night, business was coming to me, and bringing trouble with it. Business, I didn't mind. But trouble was an unwelcome guest. And like all unwelcome guests, it was hard to ask it to leave. And by the third day, it was generally wearing your shirts and leaving its stuff in your bathroom.
Hello, Mr. Luton. I've been expecting you.
I should hope so. This is my office. How'd you get in?
Through the door. It was only locked. I know all about doors.
Good. Use this one to get out.
I have a message for you, Mr. Luton.
I don't take messages from strangers.
Then let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Al-Khali.
I don't take messages from dwarves named after cities.
My name isn't important.
You seem to think it was.
I've come to warn you to stay clear of the Mundy case.
I'll bear that in mind. Now get out.
If you don't stay clear of the Mundy case, something untoward may happen to you.
This is Ankh-Morpork. Something untoward may happen to me whether I investigate this case or not. Now either you get out or I'll throw you out.
Don't say I didn't warn you, Mr. Luton.
Don't say I didn't ignore you, Mr. Al-Khali. A dwarf named after the Klatchian city of Al-Khali, and a threat. This case was getting more interesting by the minute. All we needed was a troll and a member of the undead, and we could open an ethnic comedy on Broadway.
We already have a troll, remember? Malachite. Undead? Well, you got the vampire, so that's good.
Sapient, unfortunately. It's a night. I could hardly carry the desk around, even if I wanted to. The big troll had come up to me out of nowhere and asked me to find Therma. He
Oh.
certainly wasn't the brightest troll I'd met.
Okay, interesting. Mechanic. Okay, time to revisit places. Time to backtrack. Some little pixelantic, but not too many. Not Jenkins. Nope.
The pianist, Samael, was one of Cafe Ank's. Not only was he a first-rate musician, but there was something I decided not to. Hello again.
Hello yourself.
I'll see you around, Captain.
Okay, now I am sort of lost. I'm looking at the walkthrough, and the walkthrough doesn't make much sense. I did everything. There is something I could try. I could talk to Nodi again to see if he knows the names of the people.
Hello again. Hello. I don't suppose you know a troll named Malachite. Not Mount Malachite. Describe him. Big, tall, stupid, not very talkative. That's the one. He went down for theft years ago. I seem to remember he had an accomplice. An accomplice? Yeah. He denied it, but we all thought he was working with someone. I don't reckon he was the brains of the outfit. What happened? He escaped. Not that long ago either. As far as I know, he's on the lam. Why? You've seen him? No. Just interested. Have you heard of a singer called Therma? Never heard of her. Do you know a dwarf by the name of Al-Khali? Never heard of him. How did you know he was male, then? You can't trick me. Everyone knows dwarves don't use the female pronoun. Okay. Mind you, I've always wondered what a female pronoun was. One of nature's wonderful mysteries, Nobby. Is it normally kept covered, or what? I'm going to leave it to your rather uninventive imagination, Nobby.
Okay, that was...
Have you ever heard of a troll by the name of Madame Lodestone? Madame Lodestone? Oh, there's a name I've not heard in quite a while. You know her, then? Well, no. But I've heard of her. She died in some sort of construction mishap. A mishap, Nobby. Whatever. Anyway, if memory serves, they put her body in the Salachi Mausoleum. Don't know how she ended up in such an exclusive establishment, but that's how I heard it. That doesn't sound very likely. You did ask. Catch you later, Nobby. Like measles, maybe. Or athlete's foot.
I won't go to Malachite again until I'm sure a body is there.
The Salaci family mausoleum was one of the most beautiful buildings I'd ever seen, nestled in an upmarket part of the city of Ankh. It was unguarded because, quite frankly, no one in their right mind would do anything to offend the Salaci family, given their ties to the Assassin's Guild. It wasn't just something that wasn't done, it was also something that wasn't survived.
Hope you can't die in this
The
game.
Salaci family mausoleum was full of tombs. More chambers, annexes, vaults, sepulchres, and catacombs than a thesaurus. I tried to find Therma's grave, but it was a waste of time. You'd need to be an expert in heraldry or genealogy to even begin to navigate around it. I'll say this for the nobility. They keep their dead well indexed.
Nothing arrived. Supposedly there was something that was supposed to arrive here.
Sapient, it's a nice...
Maybe I should go to the...
Hello again, Malachite. No, don't say anything. I know how you'd love to talk, but I'd hate for you to wear out that beautiful voice of yours. There didn't seem much point. He wasn't likely to... Frankly, he wasn't likely to say, it was looking like the only way to get through to this guy was with a chisel. Do you know anything about the Salaci Mausoleum? Hello? Hello? Maybe this is a time to take no reply for an answer. I wanted to find where Therma was buried in the Salaci family mausoleum, but I needed someone who knew their way around a place like that. I knew the streets, but high society family trees were like women, complex and incomprehensible. What do you know about a dwarf named Al-Khali? Malachite was as talkative as a corpse, and only slightly more attractive.
Nope.
Always a pleasure talking at you, Malachite.
Can't we threaten him with the police or something? Okay. There was supposedly someone here in the cafe we're supposed to talk to, but doesn't appear. Or maybe the walkthrough I'm looking at isn't very good. It's also possible. Okay, last chance. If that person is in here, well, we'll leave it here. No, it's not here.